community and the citizens a far greater service than us saving nickels and dimes. That's just my position.
If I may, Mr. Chair, there's actually no cost savings to the town. A meeting of 4 hours or more is supposed to be $200. It's your option if you want to charge 0, 100, or 200. So there's no cost savings. As repeated for the last year and a half, my stance is that if you've been up for 16, 17, 18 hours, I don't know how great of a wise decision you're making. So unfortunately, I will be voting against this.
Any further discussion? I feel you're wrong on that, but that is your position. All those in favor, call the question, I guess. All those in favor? And opposed?
You're opposing your own motion?
I didn't agree with it, but I had to come out as to whether or not we should extend it.
So we just spent 7 minutes.
You people.
Okay. Wow, it's all good.
It's all good. Schedule adoption of the agenda, 1B, done. And 2A, schedule delegations, seeing none. Public delegations. Any public delegations? Any public delegations?
There's only one, just ask
Seeing
her.
none. Calling it 3 times, no public delegations.
I'm waiting for him to grow his.
All right, we're moving right along.
Nancy's here now.
2C, protective services. Page 54 of the agenda.
I'd like to thank Mayor Cox and the council for moving this forward. You want me to highlight?
Councillor Carrier.
Make a motion that council receive for information the April 2015 report for the senior peace officer.
Now we can discuss it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Getting ahead of myself, I was excited there.
Councillor Danaka.
The only thing I would like to add to this is, and I don't know if it's something that council has to do or something that you can do as the bylaw person, but the owner of the Velocity Plumbing was out giving out free helmets at the skateboard park and doing a little safety thing about wearing the helmets.
Oh.
I think he gave out 20 helmets. He got a deal from He-Bears. So I think both him and He-Bears should be thanked for doing that.
Wow, I wasn't aware of that.
There's an article in the newspaper,
Oh, I haven't read the newspaper yet.
but it did have.
Oh, okay.
And he said he would be doing it a couple more times this summer, so.
Maybe I'll, so I have a few in the back storage room I could. Yeah.
Great.
Oh.
Now you have the floor.
Dogs at large, 5 were picked up. I just want to highlight the one section there that I'm not sure if everybody was aware of, those 2 little dogs over in Birch Crescent that were constantly roaming. The owner surrendered them to me, or to the town, so they're no longer a problem. They're adopted out somewhere else now. Still getting calls from local businesses about loitering and people soliciting for money and stuff. So, but that's can be controlled by patrolling the areas and stuff. Unsightly, a couple of notices issued for April. Compliance was made. The dog licensing, out of the 65 notices sent out. It was reduced down to 10 that I issued municipal tags to, and those are now reduced down to 2. So,
How much are the dog licenses?
$10 for spayed or neutered, and $20 if they're.
Same for cats?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm not sure. You might have noticed when you're walking by my office that speed signs have showed up. So I'm in the process right now with ADCO to get power onto the poles where we want to put them, and they're doing that at no cost to the town.
Oh,
Holy.
we need a letter also to them. Oh, in normal state, when these letters, because they are thank you letters and whatever, who signs these? Can we have Alan sign them or CAO sign them or? Okay, well, then we need a motion obviously for letters.
And then there's the ad for the new or second peace officer that comes due, or its final day is Friday, this Friday. To date, we have approximately 16 applicants, so we have a good selection to choose from. Other than that, any questions?
Mayor Cox, Councillor Tanaka, Mayor Cox.
How long is that ad running?
It was 3 weeks.
The one for the, other, bylaw officer
Yeah, it was for 3 weeks.
for 3 weeks?
Yeah.
And how's the response been?
We've got 16 applicants.
Mayor Cox.
The two speed signs that are not hooked, the ones with batteries,
Yeah.
when are they going up?
I attempted to take one,
Yeah,
but there were some wiring issues with it, so that's been rectified. So they'll be coming out this week.
okay.
I'm
The
gonna-
next time I see you, I'm gonna ask you, where were they?
Well, you'll pass the one. I'm gonna put it on this. Now that we're getting more activity at the skate park,
Yeah,
I'm gonna put it out here, the 30 zone,
okay,
because it is the 30 zone
yep,
from dusk till dawn,
yeah,
and people just aren't realizing it, or
no enforcement.
so I'll be putting it out here to begin with, and then one
Yes.
other way.
Okay. The food truck, there's a food truck in town, I had a complaint, or I had a question from a
Yeah.
restaurant here, what happened with the food truck? Down by the hospital, there's a food truck in town, that's
Okay.
taking business away from our local restaurants.
I heard about it today. I went out and I approached 3 or 4 workers, and I specifically asked them, "Is there a food truck at noon?" I'm assuming it's at lunch hour, and they had no idea what I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
If I had a vehicle description or
Parents got signs on it because Tammy did the signs.
oh, so it should be visible.
It'll be visible.
Okay,
You'll
I'll-
see it eventually.
I'll make a
Keep an eye out for it.
patrol there during the lunch hour then.
Well,
But
yeah.
if they have a business license.
Well, I'm not sure what they have.
Yeah.
They'll have to get public health to approve their
Yep.
Mhm.
whatever they're using.
Or a peddler's license, or what exactly, or, and I don't know what our bylaws say about businesses that are, whatever, I don't know. I
They,
just-
I'm pretty sure they have to comply with the health and safety, or health and food, whatever, regulations.
I think that's all I have.
I just have one question.
Councillor Rose.
I had a few people ask me if we have a bylaw, that says that, residents are supposed to wear helmets at skateboard park, then how
Well,
can
it
we
doesn't-
not enforce enforce
It doesn't specifically say skateboard park, it says when you're using a bicycle, scooter, skateboard, whatever, so.
kind of, or-
Well,
It's just that
it's-
they're, and especially if we're gonna get
the signs are
residents,
posted there,
obviously residents are concerned, right, so they're stepping up and they're handing out helmets.
okay,
So how can we support that action
we
if
can
we
do the
don't
same, or,
make them sort of accountable? And I understand your struggle, but it'd be nice to see a solution. And what, have we researched what other communities do? Cause I was told that other communities do issue tickets and the kids are kind of afraid of them because their parents, they get in lots of trouble if they find out there's a ticket that they have.
well,
to
no,
pay.
that's, it can be enforced, but I'm at the point where it's, an educational thing, so I got the signs there now. So it states, users of this skateboard park need adult supervision if not wearing helmets. Which takes the onus off the town and puts it back onto the parents, cause ultimately they're the ones that are allowing it to happen. But I will start,
I was just curious your thoughts on it, cause I mean, it obviously it is a concern and it's a concern to residents and.
yeah, no,
potentially-
and I understand that too, and I will, if council so desires, I can do that, but the skateboard society was very, I guess, concerned about putting that into our bylaw, cause they didn't want the children to be, I guess, scared away from there. And then, but on the other hand, they have to have safety, but, so. And I pass out coupons for A&W.
No, I think that positive reinforcement is great, and I'm sure that that has an impact as well. But eventually, when all the kids just take helmets off and put them down, and there's no consequence.
Yeah.
That will, all the positive stuff may just go by the wayside. If somebody may get a ticket, then maybe they realize that, and then we may get the support from the parent community as well, because if they're not supporting the helmet use, they'll support the non-payment of tickets.
Can you ticket a 10-year-old?
That's why I wondered what they do.
No,
You can.
you'll go after the
It's
parents.
gonna be a mess for us for a while.
Yeah, it's-
Anybody under the age of 12.
Councilor Carrier, you had,
Thank you, Chair. Just, the other peace officer's been gone for quite some time. I've been reading your reports. Your safety, just because you're the only peace officer in town, it's still in check, and your workloads and stuff, you're finding it's,
Well, it's obviously it's increasing with the seasonal change, obviously, but I'm getting more and more calls at home, which I didn't previously, but
and your safety, the RCMP are readily available for you if something's needed, or backup?
yes, yeah, well, obviously they're just a call away, but it's comforting to know they're there, but they're not gonna be within distance of maybe 5-10 minutes, if that.
any further questions, any discussion? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you want to make motions?
Do we not want to have a motion made as well for your letters?
Yeah.
Yes. So, motion, can we have it read back?
Receive for information.
Receive for information is good. All those in favor? Carried. Mayor Cox.
I'd like to make a motion to direct the mayor to direct administration to prepare a letter for the mayor's signature, mayor or deputy mayor's signature, thanking Velocity Plumbing, is it Velocity?
Yes.
For distribution of helmets.
And I believe Eber Enterprises as well.
Velocity Plumbing and Heber Enterprises for distribution distribution of skate helmets,
Safety helmets.
safety helmets.
Would it be donation,
You know what I said?
distribution?
Oh, donation instead of distribution.
Discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried.
Was there another thank you that we were talking about just before?
If you do,
Oh, ATCO, I want to, a motion there.
Mayor Cox.
A motion to direct administration to draft a letter for the mayor's or deputy mayor's signature, thanking ATCO for providing, installation of our speed signs at no cost.
power for the people.
Power to the speed signs at no cost.
Discussion.
Just to clarify, I don't believe there's any pecuniary interest for me here. I'm not receiving anything directly, correct?
I think we're good.
Okay.
All those in
Yeah.
favor?
Do you want me to read it back?
As long as you got it. I'm good. That was pretty straightforward.
Yeah. All those in favor? Carried. And two D, or not 2D. Public Works, Mr. Walker, you're up. I thought it was good. Councillor Empter.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that council award the lift station number 7 backup power supply project to AGS Mechanical Contractors Limited and approve the project for a total cost of $341,120, including engineering and contingency, as well as authorize administration and Mayor Cox to sign the contract. Now we can discuss it.
Basically it was tendered out, and.
Sorry, may I interrupt? And that council authorized the increase, adjustment of the 2015 capital budget backup power supply project in the amount of $16,420.
And as per the information provided, we had two bidders, Westpro, who is building the number 4 lift station, and AGS Mechanical. We went with two alternatives, natural gas or diesel, and we had chosen to go with the cheapest alternative in that area. Just for council's information, the added cost, the overall capital budget is still about $170,000 under what was asked by council, even though there's a slight increase here.
Councillor Empter.
I was speaking with another consulting firm out of Grand Prairie, and he was saying that road construction, they're seeing 20% decrease in costs.
And we did see that on Railway Avenue.
But it had no effect in this area, eh? Because I noticed that MPE was predicting one cost and it came back, both of them were substantial. One is substantial, one's slightly higher.
The original cost that was estimated by MP was $352. I think there might have been a typo because it ended up in the budget as $325.
Okay.
So really it's apples,
Yeah.
oranges sort of thing.
Any further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Carried. Good job, Mr. Walker.
Mr. Chair,
That's a quick draw.
got a couple more. While the Superintendent of Public Works is here, we can talk about, we didn't move it down. Question for you then, have we had a discussion about the highway streetlights with Department of Transportation?
We've had a discussion with ATCO in regards to the highway streetlights.
Okay.
I've emailed Danny Jung from Transportation, and the situation in Grimshaw is he found out they pay for only 6 at a major intersection. That's what he told me. And we have ATCO checking into the ones in High Prairie to see how many that Transportation and Amanda's supposed to get back to myself on that. As well, I'll just bring
Mr.
you
Walker,
up to date
please.
on the other capital projects while we're talking a little bit about capital. we'll be having the startup meeting for Railway Avenue on Thursday. They plan on being in here as soon as they get done at the hospital, moving over to that street. Also, the West Fraser is planning on starting June 1st. We've had meetings with them. And also the 53rd Avenue between 48th and 49th Street is scheduled for mid-June to start. So hopefully most of these projects will be pretty much wrapped up by rodeo time, so it shouldn't interfere with the rodeo. But they are aware of that as well.
Busy guy.
It'll be a busy summer.
Any further questions?
Good for the town.
I do have one more. Are we contemplating doing any traffic counts on
Yes, we are. Yeah. For 55th.
the walking,
Intersection there?
the walking trails?
And we have we just went right into the motion to discuss. Yes.
No, we didn't motion.
Yes.
The other part of 2D, I make a motion that council approve a no charge to the business hookup fees to recover the cost of installation of the low pressure sewer line that services the west end businesses along highway number 2.
Discussion.
During the securing of the intent for people, to consent for people to allow us to proceed across their property with that, we did not have to have a land agent, and none of the property owners were charging any fees for an easement, granting an easement. So I just feel in this situation, it's kind of a toss-up, plus the high cost of actually tying onto a low pressure sewer line for those individual businesses is going to be quite substantial. So that's just my recommendation.
So just to clarify, when they bring the sewer into their own property, it's at their cost.
We're just installing the main.
And we're not using a debenture or any other recovery method here?
No.
That would be the other alternative, right, would be
Yeah.
to,
And we'll recover it through the rate over a period of time.
no, I agree, it's,
And we also don't charge anybody else to tie onto our system in existing areas either, so.
Any further questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Now you get to go home.
No, I still have to be his girdle.
3A, minutes of special meeting council, page 3, the agenda, Councillor Naka.
I move that council approve the minutes from the April 28th, 2015 special meeting of council as presented.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And 3A2, Councillor Naka.
The council approve the minutes from the April 28th regular meeting of council as presented.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Business rising, seeing none, public hearing, seeing none, new business. 5A, finance.
Should this not have been added to the agenda, the May 6th minutes?
No, that was just for you to approve.
Just an FYI?
Yeah.
Okay.
And 5B, administration. And that's page 12 of your agenda, 2015 tax rate bylaw. We have two options.
Is this two different motions?
Nope.
One that council approved the increase in net tax,
There's only one recommended action?
on the
No,
other
there's
page.
two.
and the other page.
No.
Said you go to.
You approve it and then you give the bylaw readings.
Is that what it is?
There-
Is that what you're
That's
doing?
the same,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
not a,
No.
It's an and.
It's an and,
It's
correct?
an and, it's not a,
Yeah.
Not an or.
Oh,
and I don't.
And we wait. Counselor Enter.
I'd like to make a motion that we receive 5DI for information.
oh, so now we're gonna still discuss it,
Yes.
okay.
Discussion.
Is this different than what we talked about? Right?
No.
So the examples that you've given us this evening, is
Yeah.
that based on this bylaw
That's based on this bylaw.
and this bylaw?
On the new bylaw.
On the new bylaw?
Yeah.
And the mill rate in this new bylaw matches the one that was passed a month and a half ago?
I took the tax rates, yeah, from that.
And that was the one that was published, was it in the paper even?
We didn't-
0.095 or something?
We didn't pass it, no,
No,
We passed the budget and it
yes,
Yeah.
approved,
yes. And we did not pass the mill rate.
oh, I thought we did. Cause it was, he gave us the mill rate in that,
He said this is what the mill rate may be.
yeah, he did was more
But-
final number.
oh, I thought he gave it
No,
to us.
no, all we did was pass the budget. Now we're actually looking at the tax rate, which is the mill rate. Are we
Yeah,
looking- Yeah,
yeah.
now we're doing the mill rate. That's what this is.
Yeah. And you put the 2014
Yeah.
in there for comparisons.
So the first 3 pages are last year's.
Yeah.
The new one starts on page 18. And using, it's a 9 point what? 9.8, 9.08?
9.58.
9.58. Okay, using the 9.58, the samples that you gave us are based on 9.58.
They are.
Okay.
So, Chairman Long, what I did is I took 2 samples of 2 houses, one in an R1 district and one in an R2 district. And I didn't change the mill rate because I have the tax notice from last year. And on the R2, the third page, it was a difference of $190.41 difference. And on the R1 district, it was a difference of $383.67.
So approximately 10% for an R1.
Yep.
Either way, roughly just 10%.
And I think this is, Chairman Long?
Yes.
And I think this is what council was looking for, was what effect is this going to have? So there's the approximate effect of what it will have across the residential board.
Yes.
So the other thing is the 100,000 for the Heart River. Is that impacting this 9.5 at all, or like, didn't we just talk about the Heart River levy, Heart River Foundation levy? or-
It's mentioned in here, the $100,000. So the suggestion is to increase the net municipal taxes by an amount of $100,000 in the operating budget in order to mitigate any potential risk. With the vote of the NDP and how other municipalities have been successful already campaigning with the previous government in order to be reimbursed due to their high percentage,
That may not.
this may not be in at all. So I don't think we should be pumping up another $100,000.
But the recommendation one is to increase it by 100,000.
And that's why I said for receipt for information, because I don't want to increase it 100,000.
So all we know now is that we have the tax bill. We don't know that we have any sort of relief for that, right?
And so please clarify me if someone from council can, or the audience. So currently, we bill Heart River Housing, and the government of Alberta reimburses them for the amount of the tax bill. So if we still bill Heart River Housing, how are we out 100,000? They're still gonna pay it, it's just they're not being reimbursed
So their mill rate will have to go up.
for
in
next
order
year.
For them, no. Have they given us the mill rate yet, Heart River?
It's, okay, so,
Yeah.
yeah, they have.
Yeah.
They have written and said this is what we want for 2015.
Yeah.
So they've already given it, and it is an increase, very slight,
Okay.
but
Councillor Long, what might happen, Councillor Amter, is in the legislation of the previous government, if they had gone through, they might have said in the legislation,
you need to cover your own.
municipalities will be covering your bill or something like that. Who knows? But you're right. It's an ND government. We don't know what the legislation will be, whatever. In saying that, I think given this amount, yeah, I see what you're saying. Are we going to be running into a operational deficit because we haven't built in that 100,000 into the operating?
It is there, right? Because it's received as a tax. It's just that Heart River is reimbursed by the Alberta government. And if the Alberta government's not gonna reimburse them, what's that gotta do with us? Right, so next year, they'll come back with a higher mill rate for their Heart River Housing.
For their
Right.
deficit.
But I honestly think with the NDP government, they're gonna get it. And we should be campaigning with them that they get it.
Councillor Long? So my question is to you, you've gone through the figures, you've seen what the operation it requires in saying what we told you that this is what it should require. Are you satisfied that this mill rate is going to bring enough money in?
It should be enough.
Okay.
What I'm looking at here is the residential, or whatever, the Heart River Housing.
Yeah.
If you compare that number to what it is on the new rate, so just hang on here, just go to 14.
44 minus, compared to 38.
I'm just looking here. No, it's not included in there. The 100,000 isn't included in there, because it's identical, 2014 is the same as 2015.
Right. Because it actually should be up here with the taxes. So again, do you think that that is going to be a problem? Or shall we?
I'll get
Roll
ahold-
the dice.
I'll get ahold of Warren Powers and
When is the last date we can pass this?
It can be passed at the next meeting.
It can be.
Yes, because we got till the end of the month to get the tax notices out.
Okay.
So,
But you would need unanimous consent on all three,
Yeah.
three readings, right?
Then it would have to be 3 readings.
Yep. Unless council wishes to call a special meeting in between those,
Yeah.
now and then, to review it. And then, but it has to be past the last meeting this month.
Okay, so the last meeting of the month is the
26th.
26th. So you would have to have a special meeting between the 26th and the 31st in order to make sure that this is passed so that the rest of all these dates are.
No,
Or on the
if there's
26th.
3 unanimous readings, then it's fine. If not, then you have to have
Yeah.
an additional meeting.
Okay.
I would suggest that the special meeting go before then, because we only have a few days' notice to get those
It
tax
would be
notices
nicer
Oh,
in the
right.
mail.
Exactly. You can have the special meeting anytime up
Yes.
to the 31st, but.
And we need to find out.
Because even with the 26th, we have 5 days to get them in the mail.
Okay, so what is the concern? The 100,000?
The 100,000.
Is that a concern to everybody?
Yes.
Because we could pass this.
That's, I think, a concern, and I don't think we have clarity on the process, because when we were discussing this at the previous meeting, it was that the invoice, we weren't going to be billing Heart River Housing, we were not gonna be receiving this income, we were told we are not getting it. So I'm a little bit confused by, we're gonna send them the bill and they're gonna pay us, and, you know, so I'd like to see really what is for sure the process and what is the expectation, and I mean, Brian sits on that board and he could probably explain it better to us, but without some clarification.
Mr. Walker.
We could probably give it a first reading, just to get the process started. That's a possibility.
Okay.
It won't matter though.
No,
It has no
but
effect on
it's
it.
just,
won't be here, so it makes no difference to me. But I'm satisfied with this rate.
And just so council is aware, we've come to a couple operational issues that we're gonna have to address, but they will be more capital because the expenditure will be over 5,000. So it'll be a capital, thing that we'll be bringing back to council rather than an operational issue.
How much?
Well, one will be about 35,000, the other one probably 15 or so. It's just we've discovered, we don't have an easement on something where we have a property where we have a water line that crosses, but we don't have an easement. So we gotta move the line, and then to solve our issues with gas, the freezing off last, January, we're gonna be doing a joint, or trying to do a joint project with, Prairie River in order to rectify that problem. Just so council's aware.
The owner of the property wouldn't just give us easement, so we can leave it alone?
No, he wants us to change the line because it's a 1960s line. He's willing to give us an easement, but he wants us to change the line, so it's less chance of breakage. And disturbing his property in the future when we replace the line.
Councillor Carrier.
I'm a little concerned with some of our councillors tonight. We received this agenda package given lots of time. There's still questions and concerns about how this all works. So I find that kind of alarming that you didn't do your homework before the council meeting. So that when you come here tonight, you could have your debate properly so we could understand whether or not how this does or does not affect things. But seeing how our mayor, who was very adamant about the tax rate and lowering things, she sees no issue with this. For me, I don't see no problem moving forward. But I do question councillors that come here without doing the homework first, if they're so concerned about it, and bringing those facts forward for the rest of us councillors.
When we ask questions here, and when a councillor chooses to ask questions, it's as important for us to ask the questions so that the public knows what we're debating. It is not good enough for us to say, darn it, the mayor got it right. All in favor? It's important for us to debate those issues. That's why we were elected, not to rubber stamp things, but to debate them. So to make the assumption that someone hasn't done the homework, I think is erroneous. And it does nobody any good. And so.
Thank you for twisting my words. If you've seen a concern here, you could bring your concern forward to council and say, I was curious about this, and this is the answer to my questions that I had. To come here and say, I have a question about this and I have no answer, to me, shows that you read the agenda package, either you read it tonight, it's the first time seeing it, or otherwise you've seen it and you had a concern, but you couldn't be bothered to go and get your homework, so now we're going to delay matters. When, if you would have had your question answered and said, this is a concern I had, this is the answer to the concern I had, it shows you've done your homework. We can have the frank discussion in the council chamber, but to simply say that I need to have a whole pass it and move it quickly along is really twisting my words. Thank you for interrupting me while I have the floor as well, Mr. Chair.
You were being rude. Period. And so, it creates debate, and it allows the people of our community to see that we aren't like previous councils in the past that just rubber stamped and had meetings in the back and had things already settled out. I'd like to think that doesn't happen here.
It doesn't happen here.
I know. So
move along.
Carry on.
Councilman?
Yes.
I believe the amount was added into the bylaws 06 of 215. If you look at your total municipal levy,
Yep.
on page 19, the $3,055,085 is located within that bylaw already. So I think this we're okay to go with this now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Could you repeat that? Sorry.
From the recommended action in your, in here, in your recommended action, this one here,
Yeah.
is in the back, in there right there. So he's already included it,
The 100,000.
the 100,000.
Yeah, but I don't want it included. Or he's included it as a revenue, is what you're saying? Or is he included that we're gonna be a shortfall?
It's a revenue,
Budgeted revenue.
it's budgeted revenue. Look at the top
Yeah,
of
but
it.
right, which is increasing the taxes to make up the $100,000 shortfall. And I don't wanna do that because I think two reasons. One, the goal was to lower the tax rate. And two, I honestly think the NDP government's gonna come through. And actually as a third, we should have been campaigning the same as Whitecourt and that email that went around saying they approached the government and they're getting assistance. So I don't wanna increase our tax revenue, that extra 100,000, and then all of a sudden, because one, we didn't ask for that money from the government, or two, Heart River gets it.
Mayor Cox.
My feeling is on this one, there could be a lot of things that come through the year. I don't think that we should be worried about 100,000 that would come here and might come there. We made our decision based on the way things were at the time we knew it best. And if we are lucky and we get, I wouldn't say lucky, but if this 100,000 does not, if it appears or it doesn't appear or whatever, then it will go to operational surplus, which goes to our capital reserves, which still is better. Once these figures, which we're based on, go out, similar to this, I don't think 100,000 is gonna be something like $25 difference for the person. We should be satisfied with what we've done with this, because the utilities still are gonna impact these people. So this to me is reasonable the way it is. I don't think that we should be biting off things that may or may not occur. So we asked the administration, bring it forward, they have done that, I'm ready to go with what administration says.
And I agree, as long as the increase in revenue is there, I feel differently than Councilman Hunter. I'd like to see that it is dealt with, because, I mean, you've just indicated there's capital expenses. We know there's other expenses that can creep into this year. So I would have liked it to be dealt with, and because we didn't have a clear answer, that's why I thought I wanted to make sure that we knew what was happening with that Heart River housing increase, whether that was already dealt with in here.
Yeah.
So what is the wish of council?
We have a motion.
You have a motion on the floor to receive for information.
All those, further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Back to square one. Mayor Cox.
I move that council approve an increase of the net municipal tax revenue by $100,000 in the 2015 operating budget from the amount of 2,955,085 to 3,055,085, and that council introduce and give first reading to bylaw 06/2015 this 12th day of May 2015.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed?
Excuse me. Thank you.
Mayor Cox.
I move that council, where did I find it again?
Page 13.
Council gives second reading to bylaw 06/2015 this 12th day of May 2015.
Discussion? Councilor?
As a comment to council, the increase in utilities, the reason I was shooting for the 15%, because we increased utilities 20%, equated to an actual cost savings. It's gonna more rough out each other now. So I was looking for that decrease, to put the money back in their pockets.
discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And Councilor Carrier.
Make a motion that council upon unanimous consent give third and final reading to bylaw number 6, 2015, this 12th day of May 2015.
Wasn't unanimous. You can't.
No, I'm making a motion that upon unanimous consent.
But I think it relates to the second motion, and because it was unanimous, not unanimous, you cannot do a third reading.
That's CEO, what do you think?
I don't,
I'm
sorry.
not that good on it either. I don't think you're gonna get an unanimous anyways, so you might as well not even make the motion.
Well, you can, it don't matter.
Doesn't matter which way you go.
Withdraw the motion. Next one, 5B2, 2015 audit request for proposals, page 23, Councillor Tanaka.
I make a motion that council award to Hawkins EPP Dumont LLP for the total proposal amount not to exceed $23,500 plus GST, including disbursements and LAPP for the 2015 audit with possible extensions to include 2016 and 2017.
You can't do possibles. It's, you're either doing one of the two, right? Either the 1 year or the 3 year.
Can you do an extension? Did he
Well, but
bid?
you don't say possible,
Oh, for 2015,
because then how do you
16,
determine what
17
possible
audits.
means?
Okay, so you wanna go.
The motion so far is possible 2016, 2017, if that's the wish of Councillor Tanaka's motion. So,
I don't think you,
we
and I
can
agree.
debate it, but
Yeah.
Because the price is built for 3 years.
So do you wanna remove the possible?
Well, I withdraw that motion then.
Okay. Mayor Cox.
Make a motion that council award to Hawkins EPP Dumont for the total proposal not to exceed $23,500 plus GST, including disbursements and LAPP for the 2015, 16, and 17 audits.
Discussion. Mayor Cox.
I would have to ask administration why we had two different motions. If the price was for 3 years, how can we only give them 1 year? We don't have the actual,
RFP,
no, their response from,
but the RFP was for 3 years,
Yes, that's what.
then that's all we can consider.
That was my only question.
Or we should consider.
Any further discussion? Councillor Rose.
One thing I think we should consider is changing treasurers as well as changing auditors at the same time without without having any background. We don't have any background on the proposals.
From what we did with, on these people, is they're very reputable.
Mr. Walker.
Hawkins, LLP, Dumont, I guess, whatever it is. They also do the Federation of Natural Gas Co-ops, and they've been doing them for almost 30 years. And it's always been a reputable audit on them. So just some background.
Councillor Tanaka, Councillor Rose.
I did go online and they have handled some pretty big accounts. They did the, I think it was Rocky Credit Union, Safeway. The reason I was going with the possible is that we don't know much about them. So that's why I was kind of looking at just going 1 year and then seeing if we like them for the extension. That was why I made the motion as I did.
Councillor Rose.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking as well, is if we, without sort of seeing the proposal, is the price the same for three, like, their obviously their proposal to us was, a price for 3 years. So if we approve 1 year, is the price the same?
Well, if I get a hold of them and ask them.
And do they do other municipalities or just Corus?
I believe in the discussions that I was privy to, that they also do municipal district and Big Lakes, or county Big Lakes.
County Big Lakes, that's who their auditors are. They're a big firm.
Yeah, no doubt. Mayor Cox.
I would only say that in the auditing of municipalities, it's pretty standard. They, if you're doing one municipality, you're gonna be doing the other one exactly the same. The guidelines set out by municipal affairs are pretty stringent. You have to follow their format. And if they have done any municipality, they would be doing exactly the same.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the question. Would you like it read back? So, all those in favor? Carried. Councillor Epster.
I'd like to make a motion that council approves taking over the land lot 16 block 1 plan 0940617 in brackets 482559 Ave for no less than $75,000 and give back to the CRC Children's Resource Council the amount of $53,755.76.
How much?
$53,755.76.
Discussion.
Question for Councilor Epter, how did you come up with your number?
So there was originally 2 parcels of land. The town donated 1 parcel. The CRC purchased 1 parcel for $38,000 and put in utilities for the amount of $15,755.76 for a total of $53,755.76. So basically, we're just taking our land back and paying them back for all their expenses and the costs that they purchased.
Can you give me your number again?
It's on the motions
Right up top.
Right up top there. I just took the info from the background. And that's actually what I told them when they were here present. I said, show us what you spent, we'll give you back what you spent, plus the cost of the land. Stay my word.
Mayor Cox, Councillor Denick.
My question would be, to Councillor Enter, why would you want to take the land back rather than get the Children's Resource Council to sell it?
The Children's Resource, I can respond?
Yeah.
Sorry? Okay, I'm guessing, I'd rather the town purchase it as a favor for the CRC, because if they put it on the market, it could sit there for a week, or it could sit there for 2 years. We know that they've purchased another building, they're doing the renovations, and they're being hit with a higher tax bill this year than expected. So it'll give them some cash influx to work with.
That's all my question.
I'm not totally a bad guy.
I was sort of thinking, that's it. Mighty generous of you, sir. And Councillor Denick.
In just reading through the appraisal, he's appraised the building as well. So is the building being sold, or are they not moving it over there?
They're moving it.
They're moving it. He just included the value as everything, and it might be, I didn't look at the date of the appraisal. But,
April 2nd, 2015.
oh, good. The building's moved, it's got nothing to do with it.
Councillor Rose.
Can we get your recommendation, as to what you think the town should do with it, whether you want to sell it or what would be sort of thought. I know that it was a little more complicated going in than what you guys are making it out to be, so.
I'd like to see it sold myself, but as administration.
Once we get it, we can list it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying let's not, I'm just, let's help them out, give them the cash influx, but only what they paid. And then we can turn around and try and sell it, and if we sit on it for 6 months or whatever, let's.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried.
I have just one comment. I'm worried that they're gonna come back and take the whole 53,000 and then ask us to forgive their taxes.
They can do that.
Okay. All right.
That is
Do
their
we want to,
prerogative.
do we want to kind of give them a heads up that we're not? I don't know, I just,
I think they already got it.
okay.
And Counselor Denaka.
I move that Council direct administration investigate the possibility of organizing an emergency preparedness event in High Prairie with possible dates.
Discussion. Maybe we can direct some of this information to our CAO. Yeah, information.
What it is I understand that Slave Lake did a tabletop exercise, and I would propose that we do the same thing here in the fire hall, which is our emergency operations center,
Mhm.
and have everybody involved, RCMP, fire, council, definitely council.
So on their emergency night, they also had, it was open to the public. AESRD was there, paramedics were there, RCP, ATCO, anything that could be a catastrophe, what's important, right? And how you're gonna survive for the next 72 hours and moving forward, what you should be doing. I think it's just a nice thing. We haven't been hit like Slave Lake, however, I'm sure that if, we do this, if it ever does happen, it's just gonna help everybody out in town. For those that show up.
Generally with my work with the town, that we're a receiving center, like for any of the fires or emergencies around any floods and that. So we're always the reception area. It's not saying that a train isn't gonna go through with some toxic car load or something and spill over. So what they do at these workshops is they throw different scenarios at you all the time. Like if you're in there, you're in command, they'll come in and say, well, the wind is blowing from the west now, it's switched, and you've got, 3,000 people sitting on the east side of town, if the toxic fumes are blowing into their face, what do you do? And they give you like 10 minutes to contact who you're supposed to be contacting. So it is a real height situation, like what could really happen, so it's very good.
Mhm.
What I'll do is I'll contact our fire chief and get him to organize this, cause he's the man behind the fire hall and his emergency response.
Yep. It's a great idea. Any further discussion? Thank you, Brian. All those in favor? Carried. 5v5. Counselor Denaka.
Make motion that council approve the workshop for municipal elected officials.
Discussions. Mayor Cox.
Does this basically go hand in hand?
Yes.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought, okay. Will it be the same day or is it a different?
It's probably gonna be the same day, so this all be one, I'll try to work it on a Saturday afternoon.
Councilor Carrier.
I was allowed to go to a workshop like this in Wabasca. I brought back all the documentation and put it at the mailbox for councilors to peruse. It's very informative, very insightful.
Yep.
highly recommended it.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. And now we are on to our addendums. 5B6, CAO, recruitment for Chief Administrative Officer. Councillor Enter.
Make a motion that council approves that the acting CAO enter into negotiations with Mr. Gary Peterson until a suitable candidate is found.
Discussion. Councillor Tanaka.
Who's
Uh,
Mr. Peterson?
Yeah, he knows too.
Mr. Walker.
Mr. Gary Peterson is formerly the CAO of Valley View. He is since just retired from Valley View for the second time. And I spoke with him on Friday, and he is interested in coming to High Prairie for an interim basis. He is also in discussions with Peace River and High Level at this time. So if it's council's wishes to talk to him, we should be moving on him very quickly. I told him that the span would probably be from around June the 10th till September, somewheres in there. I think his work for what he's done in Valley View speaks for himself.
Any further discussion?
Did you say the town of Valley View or the MD?
Town of Valley View.
Town, okay. So if he comes, if you're in agreement, will he be here 5 days a week or is it?
That's what we would have to discuss with him. I'm sure he would be here for 5 days a week. I don't think he sold his property in Valley View yet. He does have a place in Vernon where he's at right now. But he is very interested in coming to High Prairie.
And what would we do for the treasurer while he's here, or would he be using him to help us through the hiring process with the treasurer?
I believe the treasurer's position that was advertised is closing on the 19th. 22nd of May. So really at this point in time, it is up to the acting CAO to make a decision on that, being that he is council's only employee. So
Okay.
he can
Speak to that.
We've had a few applicants,
Yeah.
so.
Councillor Tanaka.
So while, if this fellow comes in the interim, are we, is he looking after advertising for a full-time CAO?
Yeah.
Or,
actually, it's in the next, the policy for hiring a CAO is the next addendum.
It was a first recommendation. The policy says that we have to hire a headhunting firm to hire a CAO.
So we're making a recommendation to change that policy?
No, he's just gonna be here on an
He would
interim
consult.
basis. Cause I agreed to act as acting CAO until the 10th, until Kelly was to be back, but Gary will be here for iteration until a
So
new
the
one is hired.
recommendation is to hire Gary to come in and act as a headhunter?
No, he's gonna come in and not be the acting CAO.
Mr. Walker.
He would assist council in finding a CAO. They just went through this process in Valley View, and I asked him who they used as firm, and he gave us a name, and he was very satisfied with what that firm did for them. So I think we need to deal with the one here and then move on to the next addendum. It's kind of entwined here.
Further to this, I've talked with the MD, and that's the recommendation number 2. And they have, upon us requesting sort of their assistance, they're willing to step in and help out with CAO, treasurer, sort of all those missing components that we have right now. Not a lot of talk about cost. I think it's just we'll help you guys out until you have found a solution, right? As well as personally talk to Bill about his background, knowing CAOs from different areas, and he feels fairly confident that we could easily he could assist in finding a CAO for some recommendations without using the expense of a headhunter, and maybe somebody that has the ability to work easily with the MD, which seems to be an issue that we should make sure is at the top of our list, that we have CAOs that can move forward the agendas of both the town and the municipal district.
Yes, but
No, and I love that, and I think that for the next month or more, we're gonna have to draw on their strengths and their assistance. And I admire Bill. I think he's very good. I'd love it if he gave advice. I'd love it if our acting CEO felt he needed assistance, he could give him a phone call, because the guy's got lots of knowledge and wisdom to draw upon, which is wonderful. And I thank them for the offer from the council and from the administration on that side. Speaking about Mr. Peterson, I've had business dealings with him in the past. Very efficient, very knowledgeable, lots of years of experience. He was going to retire earlier, but the town of Bellevue didn't get, their first round of applicants weren't very strong, so they didn't hire. And he continued working until they found someone that's worthwhile. Their current CAO, very impressive. So I think that's the path we need to go. My first initial response to our situation was that we'd hire an administrator and come in for a year to help settle everything down and to help us find someone that we're going to be happy with. I don't want to hire the best of the worst. I want to wait until we get a good candidate and we use who we can. I'm glad that Mr. Walker or whoever contacted Mr. Peterson, because I like the man. I think he's good.
Just further to that, and I agree, and that's great that we have that option. One, though, he's retiring from Valley View, so obviously whatever we get is just really small interim help, right? He's not looking at a permanent contract. Okay. And 2, I did contact Municipal Affairs and ask them what would be the best course of action based on our situation, and because I wasn't certain about even the offer of another municipality or our MD, and should we be using those sort of resources, or should we be like keeping everything sort of private and going out to a headhunter and finding a CAO? They said the recommended action that they would have provided to us would have been to try to partner with your municipality or your MD first, or potentially something like this Valley View option. But just so you know, it's not, that was their number 1 recommendation, was to go for assistance to the people that are within close proximity. Don't rush into a decision to get a new CAO if you're not prepared to do that right away, that you want to make sure that that's somebody that's going to work out for your community.
Mayor Cox.
I don't think that we would be rushing into hiring a new CAO immediately, because this gentleman is only here for a short period of time. I'm also hesitant to say that, yeah, I agree that the County of Bay Lakes is going to help us, because I don't think that has gone to their full council. The offers probably came from I'm not sure who they came from, but there's nothing in writing. There's only people saying that yes, the offer was made. In saying that, I'm leaning actually towards Mr. Peterson as an experienced hand who would be able to guide us through the summer, through construction season. He's had all this experience, and he could also then help us through the selection process of a permanent CAO who this gentleman is not here to take a job. He would only be here to help us in this
Intro.
term. And the other thing I have a problem with is with the MD. I'm a little bit reluctant to lean too much on them because we have already had the pushback from them about how we are using $1 million. And now we are opening up our whole operations to be judged. And certainly, I don't mind being judged, but it's hard to fight back when you're beholden to someone. I don't want to be beholden to the MD. We are equal partners. We are equal municipalities, and I appreciate the help that Brian and Vern obviously get a lot of it. But I think our working relationship would be better if we had our CAO that reported to us.
Couldn't have said it better. Any further discussion? Councillor Tanaka.
So, we have this policy here for hiring the CAO that says what it says. So if we go with Mr. Peterson, are we just advertising as the town, or?
We would still advertise for a CAO.
Right.
We would follow our policy. Headhunter, I believe, is the policy.
Yes.
So he would assist us in following our policy.
It basically states qualified individuals, I think. And Mr. Peterson would basically fall under a qualified person as well, because he's not he's a private individual now. So that could be deemed as your qualified individual as well. So that would be something that you guys could discuss with him at that time.
Anything new?
I have one more comment. Regarding Mr. Costu, I did have a very brief conversation with him this morning regarding, and it just came out, he said, what are you planning on doing? And he is concerned that we don't have a CAO and don't have a treasurer. And his only comment is when you're going to hire another CAO, try to get someone with a background that is not just municipal administration. Try to get someone with maybe economic development background plus CAO or plus municipal
Or engineering.
experience, or an engineer with something else, or try and get another skill set. So, yes, they are good for giving us options, and I certainly can't take away from them. They would be very, very helpful.
Yes. Anything new to add to the discussion?
Just another comment that was brought up by, actually municipal affairs. They said to consider if you're without a treasurer as well as without a CAO, which one you want to put in place first. You may want to have a CAO in place before
Yes.
you choose another treasurer. With that closing date and with an interim CAO, do we want to put that pressure on this situation, make it even more complicated? And that's where the offer potentially from Big Lakes comes with some treasurer support, some grant support, things like that may allow us to bridge that. And maybe it's a two-tiered solution. Maybe it's using having somebody internally hired to assist with the CAO process and oversee the projects of the summer, as well as having some support from the county.
It's an option. Anything new? Mr. Walker.
Just under the current situation, basically Brian could bring in somebody temporary to be a treasurer as well. I'm just not, with all due respect, right?
Yep, those are options.
Yeah, I think we bring in Mr. Peterson and have him assist us in all of it now.
You bet. Call the question. All those in favor? 10-minute recess.
I have to be opposed because I never got to
Yeah,
finish what I had
yeah,
to say,
yeah.
so
And-
I'm opposed.
Opposed? Okay. 10-minute recess.
How do you sign?